Module 7, Understanding Communication. Welcome to the 7th module of this course. This module will help you learn and apply tips for advancing your child's communication skills during play and home routines. In this module, you will learn ways that children communicate with and without using words, and how to look for, listen, and respond to children's communication in everyday activities. Lesson 1. Home Practice Review. Before we start Module 7, let's review the key messages and tips you learned in Module 6. Tips to help you build play routines with your child. Join in the routine and take your turn by imitating what your child is doing. Show and say by giving your child a new step for your routine. And restart your routine to help your child spend more time sharing engagement. Home practice. What you learned. Let's review your home practice from Module 6. You were asked to choose one home activity and one play or game activity to do with your child or involve your child in. Answer the questions below in your journal. What play and home activities did you try? What good things happened? Were you able to get a routine going with your child during the activity? What things can you try next time? Remember that routines are made up of a set of clear small steps that make sense and make up a story. Restart and repeat your routine many times in the same way to help your child have fun and learn the steps. Please pause the course here to write in your journal before continuing. Lesson 2. Lalitha's Story. Introduction to Communication. Lalitha's daughter, Sanvi, is 4 years old and doesn't have words yet. As you read Lalitha's story, look and listen to how Sanvi is communicating with her mother. When you look and listen, you are using your eyes and ears to detect your child's behavior. It's difficult for Sanvi to communicate and tell her mother what she wants. Because Sanvi is sitting next to the water jug, Lalitha thinks that Sanvi is thirsty. She thinks that, by crying, Sanvi is trying to tell her that she wants some water. Lalitha is trying to help Sanvi learn the word water so that she can ask for water with words instead of crying. She gives Sanvi a cup with some water in it and says, "Water." Lalitha sees Sanvi moving toward her and the cup. She sees Sanvi look up at her. She understands this is Sanvi's way of asking for more water. Every time Lalitha gives her water, she says, "Water," when she hands Sanvi the cup. Then one day, Sanvi made a sound, "Ah!" when Lalitha was pouring water. Lalitha responded by saying, "Yes, water," and giving the water to Sanvi. Lalitha explains, "She does not always say it, but I keep practicing. I know that every time I show her and say the word water, I am helping her learn, even if she doesn't say anything." Communication. Next, we will introduce you to tips on how to look for, listen, and respond to your child's communication in everyday activities. Key Message 1. Children communicate using words, behavior without words, and challenging behavior. Children may use challenging behavior to communicate when other ways of communicating are difficult. These are the ways children communicate. Children can communicate with words, clear words, unclear words, or something that sounds similar to a word, like ka for cat. Children can communicate with odd words, repetitive words, phrases or sounds, echoed words, or repetition of words and phrases heard from videos or books. Children can communicate with sounds, crying, yelling, whining, sounds that mean yes or no, etc. Children can communicate with their bodies, turning or moving towards something, taking someone's hand to put it on an object, to get help, pulling someone by the hand, turning or nodding the head, or gesturing with the head. Children can communicate with their hands. pointing to something, showing or giving an object to someone, reaching, grabbing, or pushing something away. Children can communicate with their hands by using sign language. Children can communicate with their eyes by looking at someone, looking quickly at something and then at someone, or by staring at something. Children can communicate with their faces by using facial expressions such as smiling, moving the eyebrows, etc. Children can communicate through challenging behavior by screaming, throwing things, breaking things, falling to the floor, biting, scratching, or by hitting other people or themselves. Key message 2. Look and listen to notice when your child is communicating. Focus on your child and look and listen to her or him to notice what she or he is interested in and when the child is trying to communicate with you. When your child is interested or communicating, these are great opportunities to connect with the child and help her or him learn new things. How does your child communicate? In your journal, answer the following questions. How do you know when your child wants something? What does she or he do? How does your child ask for something, get your help, get comfort from you or attention, get a break or stop an activity? How does your child share her or his interests with you? What does she or he do? Learning your child's communication through language, gesture, and behavior takes time. The tips you will learn in this module will show you how to look for, listen, and respond to your child's communication in everyday activities. Please pause the course here to write in your journal before continuing. Lesson 3. Lalitha's story, Sanvi's communication. In the pictures, you can see Sanvi and her mother shopping for food at the market. Sanvi notices bananas on a table. She turns toward them, reaches for the bananas, and says, "Ah!" Her mother responds by pointing to the bananas and saying, "Banana!" What message is Sanvi sending in the market? Let us think about this for a few seconds before continuing. Sanvi sees a banana and she wants it. She sends the message that she wants the item by reaching and making a sound. This behavior gets her mother's attention and tells her she wants the item. Lalitha responds by pointing to the bananas and saying, "Banana!" In these next pictures, you can see Sanvi and her mother walking home from the market. Sanvi notices a flower. She turns toward the flower, reaches toward it, and looks at her mother with an excited expression. Her mother responds by pointing to the flower and saying, "Flower!" What message is Sanvi sending on the walk home? Let us think about this for a few seconds before continuing. Sanvi is interested in the flower she sees on the walk home from the market. She shares her excitement by looking from the flower to her mother. Lalitha responds by using show and say when she points to the flower and says, "Flower." In these next pictures, you can see Sanvi's mother running the bath for Sanvi. Then she brings Sanvi to the bathtub. When Sanvi sees the bath, she pulls away from it and cries. What message is Sanvi sending at bath time? Let us think about this for a few seconds before continuing. Sanvi tries with her challenging behavior to tell her mother that she doesn't want to get in the bath. She cries and pulls away from the bath. In this section, you will be introduced to how to respond with words and gestures to your child's communication. Key message 3. When you notice your child communicating, find out what message your child is trying to send you. Children can use words, behavior without words, or challenging behavior to try to send you a message. What is your child trying to say to you? Is your child asking for something? Asking for something to stop? Trying to share something with you? Or trying to tell you she or he is scared, tired, hungry, or excited. Lesson 4. Words and gestures. Tip 1. Respond with words and gestures to all of your child's communication, even when it is unclear. Respond with show and say. Use a gesture, show, and a word, say, to all your child's communication, even when it is unclear. Gestures you can use include pointing to the object. For example, when a child is looking at a chair, the caregiver points to the chair and says, "Chair," holding up and showing the object. For example, when getting a child dressed, the caregiver holds up the child's shirt and says, "Shirt," and giving the object. For example, at mealtime, when the caregiver gives the child a spoon, he says, "Spoon." Gestures give children another way to communicate. Responding to all communication, even if it is unclear or odd, encourages children to communicate and helps them to learn new and more complex ways in which they can communicate. Tip 2. Use words and gestures that match your child's language level. If your child is quiet, uses sounds or unclear words, you can use one word. If your child is talking using one word at a time, you can use one or two words. If your child is talking using two-word combinations, you can use 2 or 3 words. If your child is talking using 3 to 4 word phrases, you can use short phrases. Or if your child is talking using sentences, you can use sentences. This way, your child will have more opportunities to remain motivated and not frustrated, continue to practice her or his current communication skills, and learn more complex communication skills, the child's next step. Remember always to use a gesture by pointing to what you are talking about, showing your child the object, or giving the object to your child. Gestures help your child to understand your communication better. Tip 3. Wait to give your child room to communicate. Stay quiet and wait for your child to communicate, just a few seconds. While you are waiting, look and listen for sounds, words, gestures, or eye gaze when your child is looking at something. Give the child room to communicate. In the pictures, you can see a mother and child building a tower of blocks. Then there is a surprising event. The tower of blocks falls over. After the tower falls, the mother waits to see if the child will share it with her. While she waits, she is looking at her child and listening. Then the child points to the blocks and looks at her mother. The child is sharing this surprising event. The mother responds with a word the child can use, crash, and a gesture by pointing toward the blocks. Extra tips for giving the child room to communicate. Avoid asking questions. For example, do not say, "What happened?" or "Did the tower crash?" Avoid testing your child with questions. For example, do not say, "What color is this block?" Avoid telling your child what to say. For example, do not say, "Say crash." Say crash. Tip 4. Talk about what your child is looking at and doing. This shows your child that you have noticed what she or he is paying attention to. Notice where your child's eyes are looking and what your child is doing. Talk about, say, what your child is doing or looking at. Remember always to use a gesture by pointing to what you are talking about, showing your child the object, or giving the object to your child. Gestures help your child to understand your communication better. In the pictures, you can see a caregiver playing on the floor with her child. The child reaches towards a ball and says, "Ba." Then her mother responds by saying, "It's a ball." She uses words and a gesture by giving the child a ball. Lesson 5. Additional tips for caregivers of children with other health conditions. When children have other health conditions, it can make it more difficult for them to communicate. Below are additional tips to help you understand and promote your child's communication. However, these tips do not apply to everyone. Caregivers of children with other health conditions may need more time to observe their children to notice the subtle ways their children communicate. For example, with slight movements of the head, their eyes, certain sounds, etc. All caregivers can talk about what their child is looking at and doing, regardless of the child's ability to communicate. For children with unclear communication, caregivers can repeat what the child said and add a gesture to help other people understand the child's communication. Children with other health conditions may learn to communicate more slowly. Remember that all children can learn. Children who are anxious or very shy may need more time to respond and room to initiate communication. Caregivers should be patient and understand that it will be easier for the child to respond in some situations than in others. Home practice plan. After learning how to promote your child's communication, it's time to prepare for your next home practice activity. Follow the tips below and remember to make notes in your journal. Choose one play or home activity that you will do with your child or involve your child in. For example, play, hand washing, snack, etc. This could be the same activity as you did before or something different. Choose something you do almost every day. When you do the activity, plan to spend 5 minutes focusing on your child's communication and trying to engage your child. Give your child room to communicate. Avoid asking questions or repeating the same word again and again to prompt your child to speak. Please pause the course here to write in your journal before continuing. Module 7 Summary. What you learned. Children communicate using words, behavior without words, and challenging behavior. Look and listen to notice when your child is communicating. Remember to practice the tips from this session at home. Respond with words and gestures to all of your child's communication, even when it is unclear. Use words and gestures that match your child's language level. Wait to give your child room to communicate. And talk about what your child is looking at and doing. Thank you for completing this module. Please answer the module quiz and complete the feedback survey. After 4 or 5 days of practice with your child, you will be ready to go on to the next module. Remember to practice self-care as well. You can continue with the self-care activities you are already doing, or try something new before you start the next module. See you then.